We'll get this started. Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to today's distributor case study, Pronto Software Terrariums webinar with Peter Demetriou. Today you're listening using your computer speaker system by default. You'll have the opportunity to submit questions to Peter by typing them into the questions pane on the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end. Peter Demetriou has been working in the promotional products industry for 10 years, becoming highly experienced and talented in the art of promotional products. He has an undeniable love for all things branded, and since entering the industry in 2010, grown to become dependable, trustworthy, and reliable source to marketing managers and their teams. Peter has worked in a number of roles before settling into new age promotions after completing a Bachelor of Business in Entrepreneurship at RMIT. He has in-depth knowledge of sales and marketing, assisting large private and public firms on driving new sales through marketing campaigns and brand and merchandise. He leads the company's innovation initiatives and possesses knowledge of the latest products available globally. Peter has worked alongside national and international firms, whether it's a matter relating to promotional products, uniform, or Peter's experience in complete merchandise solutions, including warehousing and distribution. He provides a level of assistance that will be difficult to rival. I will now hand this over to Peter.
Hey, thanks so much for the warm welcome, Ida. Hi to everyone, and thanks for joining in today. I hope everyone's actually doing okay during the challenging time that we're currently faced with for our industry, but also on a global level, I guess. Anyone that's in Melbourne currently, we're in stage 4 restrictions. So hoping this can all be over as soon as possible so we can go back to some form of normality. So I'm really excited to share our experience in fulfilling the Terrariums project. So I've got one here. It definitely was one of the most challenging projects that we've done to date. We had heaps of different roadblocks and issues that happened throughout. It was, however, on the other hand, one of our most successful projects that we've completed on a national scale with some awesome feedback from customers. And as mentioned, this project is the winner of the 2020 APPA Award for Product and Innovation and Design, which we're absolutely thrilled about. So to give you a little bit of a background to the project, our client Pronto Software are an Australian-based software solutions company, and the most important event on their annual calendar is their sponsorship of the CEO Institute. So this is a conference that basically brings together business leaders nationwide, and this year's summit theme was Grow. So there were presentations and discussions around current challenges to a business's ability to grow. Pronto being the major sponsor of the event, they had a few key requirements for us during the initial brief that we established were really important to make this whole campaign and the promotional product successful. So that was, as you can see on screen, a memorable and unique and thought-provoking item. It had to be used as a centerpiece on each table at the event, which I guess it added to the overall stress for us as well because they were going to be on display. We also had to make something that would serve as a take-home gift. So an item that basically translates well to the recipient's office, desk or home. And the item would also need to reinforce the event theme, which was Grow. And that basically should highlight Pronto's ability to assist clients creatively in their journey of growth. So the first part of the project was brainstorming and the idea creation. I guess with this style of brief, we always will brainstorm together as a team, but we also heavily include the client. And the reason we do that is because the client is always going to understand their target audience much better. They're dealing with them on a daily basis, and they've got a deeper understanding of what's going to work and what might not work and what they've done in the past. So with the attendees, they were actually C-level execs from larger firms nationwide. So we understood that probably many of these people are going to be, senior business people. They've been, in their role for a number of years. They've attended many different trade shows and conferences, which probably means they've received everything under the sun when it comes to branded merchandise or promotional products. So we had a list of potential ideas that could work. And we wrote down about a list of about 20 and then culled them back to about 10. And there was obviously a connection with the theme grow and doing something plant-based. The client actually settled on the idea of a terrarium centerpiece, and so that's how our journey began. So at this point, it was late in November 2019, and we just had under 9 weeks to source and produce all 1,100 terrariums. And we also had to have them arrive to the venue a couple days prior to each event. So I guess the process to get this job underway, it was a challenge in itself. So we broke down the production process into 4 key areas, which was the glass, the plants, the production, and the distribution of each terrarium to the events. So the glass, after heaps of different discussions with local suppliers, we found that it's around Christmas time. It's one of the most busiest times of the year. So there was a lot of stock that wasn't there, and we had to actually look to an offshore factory. And in this particular instance, we actually entrusted Gina and the team from Yatama Technology, who's a long-term business partner of ours at New Age, and they basically could ensure that the delivery would happen within the tight time frame and within the set budget as well. I guess the most obvious option for the glass would have been to do something quite easy, like a closed style terrarium, maybe a jar with a lid on top. It would have made our life much easier in terms of packaging and shipping. But, you know, the easiest option is not always the best. And so one of the options was this geometric shaped terrarium. And I guess this actually fit perfectly with the customer's new brand guidelines. So within their print collateral, they use a lot of geometric shapes across other print media. And it would also, when it was sitting on the table, give users that 360-degree experience as the centerpiece. So then we had to source out the plants. And I guess this is probably the second most challenging aspect of the project, second to the freight, which we'll go into in a moment. We explored heaps of different options. We spoke to a lot of different nurseries, probably in excess of about 30 plus. And Rula, the production manager, she actually spent heaps of different hours researching what our options were. She actually found something which was really cool. They're called air plants. So it's a type of succulent. It basically doesn't need any soil. It literally just would have been like a glass style terrarium with a plant in there that you just water, and it lives off literally air and water. But then after further discussions, we found that we couldn't get enough stock of these, and that they were in fact a restricted item for quarantine into Queensland and WA. So I guess then we thought, okay, maybe sending the terrariums to individual local nurseries in each state might be the way to go. But we couldn't achieve the consistency we wanted. We couldn't maintain the quality. So we had to basically source a local nursery or supplier to help with this part. And I guess it just so happened one afternoon, I was walking into a networking event in the city, and I came across a shop that was selling terrariums on the street in the CBD. So I had a long chat with the owner. We discovered that he had enough of a zebra plant, which you can actually see up on the screen at the moment. It's another type of succulent, and he had enough stock there to fulfill the entire order of 1,100 units. And I actually really like the style of his terrariums. It looks like a mini jungle or a rainforest or something like that. So after all this, we then had to hit the production. Of course, as you all probably know, with sea freight, there's almost always vessel delays and something's going wrong. So we received the glass a couple of weeks late. So we put together a team of about 7 people, together with the botanist and the team there at the nursery, to complete the production process, which took over just over 2 weeks to complete. And further to this, we also had to get the WA shipment fumigated before departure, because any soil or plants that go into WA, they must be treated and actually delivered within a 7-day time frame. Otherwise, your fumigation certificate is void. So to give you an indication, we put each terrarium together. It's all done by hand. So we literally had a production line going with, someone putting dirt in the empty glass, then another person planting in the zebra plant, then one person was adding in the stones, the moss, and then the actual botanist was finishing each terrarium, gluing in some gravel and planting the other two types of small creepers, which you can see on screen, which was the Mexican stonecrop and also baby tears. So then after all that was complete, we had to pack and dispatch. So I guess this was definitely the most challenging part of the project for us. It was literally a logistical nightmare that we had to deal with. The packing of each terrarium took just as long as actually putting them together. So because it's that open style of terrarium, we had to stuff each one with cotton to avoid movement in transit. And we also had to wrap each one in bubble wrap before placing them into individual boxes. So being a live plant, there's only so much time you can literally leave them out of sun and without water. So having to pack a pallet full of terrariums and ship them out so that they arrive a few days before the event meant we had to really race against the clock. You know, the courier was coming. We had to make sure everything was done right before the buzzer. It was really a race against the clock. So the first events that were delivered was Brisbane, Adelaide, and Sydney. And these were put on a sensitive freight express service, which would minimise the movement during the shipping. But with the fires in Australia at the time, we faced some, excuse me, we faced some pretty hefty delays. I guess with the delays, they weren't getting any sun or water, and they weren't in great shape when they got there. To add to this, the courier company decided to, in fact, take the pallet apart, and a lot of the terrariums were literally all over the place. So the customer was panicking, and so were we. We were panicking as well. I guess a big part of our ethos at New Age is to truly go above and beyond for clients. So that night when the client called us to let us know that things hadn't gone to plan, we basically booked in tickets and we flew out team members to Brisbane, Adelaide and Sydney to unpack, give the plant some water, and also set them up at each event, or help Pronto set them up at each event. So I wanted to also make a quick mention here to Rula, who's on screen. She was in fact 6 months pregnant at the time as well. So that was us in Brisbane. Lastly, I just wanted to mention what happened to us with Perth. So that particular pallet, it needed to, like I mentioned before, get to Perth within 7 days because of the fumigation process. And of course, there was fires as well as floods. So the terrariums were sitting on a train stuck right before entering into the WA depot. And this went on for quite a few days. It literally, by the end of it, it looked like they weren't going to make it. And we had some sleepless nights, and I'm sure the clients did too. I guess when something goes wrong, I always make sure not to bury my head in the sand, but to tackle the issue head on. So I was giving the customer a call with regular communication. And I think, you know, in the end, the client truly appreciated that. On the day of the Perth event, I'd pretty much told the client, listen, I'm really, really sorry, but I know this is the last event, but we've actually missed this one. There's nothing we can do about it. It was a super anticlimax. I had basically called the courier company in the morning about 20 times. And I also, on my browser, the tracking browser, I'd pressed refresh about 50 times. I think it was the last time I was actually going to press refresh, and basically it just came up, you know, on board for delivery. So the client called me at that time and said, hey, they just arrived. We're basically putting them on a trestle table, and as attendees leave the event, they'll be collecting them off the trestle table. So in a nutshell, everything made it on time. I guess since then, I haven't been able to look at a terrarium the same since. You know, we were really glad that it all came together. So some of the outcomes. The campaign, it proved to be a hit. One measurable result for us, that was for each event, there were no terrariums that were left behind. It basically meant that the crowd, they not only loved the terrarium, but that 1,100 units would go back to the target audience's homes or in their office and be a long-term item that would ultimately reach 700 plus businesses that actually attend this event nationally. At the time, there was also a really real big buzz on social media. A lot of attendees were in fact posting to social media about the terrariums, and I guess the client was really impressed with the end outcome, and obviously our commitment with flying out from Melbourne to interstate to make sure that the project actually ran smoothly and everything was delivered timely. So they actually called us and told us that in the event in Adelaide, there was people actually trying to buy terrariums from each other, which was quite cool. And that people actually went up to the marketing manager as well as the CEO of Pronto to remark, how beautiful the gift was. So we also got a call from the event organizer, the CEO Institute, and they basically complimented us on the terrarium, said that in all the years that they've run the summit, they've never seen such an innovative giveaway. So that's basically it, guys. That's the case study of the Pronto Software Terrariums. We've now got some time for questions. Thanks for everyone that joined in and listened today.
Thank you, Peter, for sharing your experience.
Thanks, Ida.
Look, there doesn't appear to be any questions. We just have a comment from Fabiola. She's just mentioned, making me stressed just listening to this. Congrats, job well done.
Thanks so much.
And we also have another one from Diane. Amazing, great project, and thanks for sharing.
Thanks so much, Diane. Appreciate it.
That seems, oh, hang on, we've got another one from Sol, I think that's how you say it. Same, well done.
Great, thank you, Sol.
Oh, thanks, Sol. Got the name right. Okay, well, in that case, look, if anyone does have any questions or want to get in contact with Peter, they can do so by sending him an email at peter@newagepromotions.com.au. I will also include that as part of the email you will receive with the recording in the next couple of days.
Fantastic.
So basically, on behalf of Peter from New Age and APPA, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, and I hope you all have a great afternoon.
All the best, guys. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.